The snow fell hard that night. Thick, white flakes swirled around the dimly lit train station, covering the wooden benches and the rusty tracks in a blanket of silence. Most travelers had long gone home, leaving behind only the hum of the wind and the flickering yellow lights that fought to stay alive. And then there she was, a woman sitting alone on the cold bench, her hands wrapped around a cup of coffee that had long gone cold. Her clothes were soaked, her lips trembling, and her eyes, though tired, held a quiet strength. Her name was Lila Morgan, a nurse who had just finished a double shift at the city hospital. She had missed her last bus, and the next train was delayed due to the storm. With nowhere to go and no one to call, she sat there shivering, lost in thought. That's when Ethan Walker saw her. He was a man of few words, a rugged cowboy with calloused hands, a Stetson hat, and a heart bigger than his ranch. Though the world knew him as the millionaire rancher of Walker Plains, to the small town of Aspen Ridge, he was just Ethan, the man who never forgot his roots. He had been returning from a business trip, waiting for the late-night train when he noticed her. Something about the sight of that trembling figure in the corner stirred something deep inside him. Maybe it was her quiet endurance, or maybe it was the way she stared at the snow, as if trying to find comfort in it. He approached her slowly. "You'll catch your death out here," he said softly, removing his jacket and placing it over her shoulders. She looked up, startled. "I'm fine. I just missed my train." "Fine," he said with a small smile. "You're freezing. Come on, there's a diner across the street. Coffee's hot, and they won't throw us out." Lila hesitated but followed. Inside the diner, the warmth felt like heaven. Ethan ordered 2 bowls of soup, and for the first time that night, Lila's hands stopped shaking. He didn't know her story yet, but he didn't need to. Her eyes said enough: exhaustion, heartbreak, and a glimmer of hope buried deep beneath it all. As they talked, Ethan learned she had been working tirelessly at the hospital, often pulling 16-hour shifts. Her mother had passed away last year, and she'd been sending money to help her younger brother finish school. The reason she was stranded tonight: she had given her cab fare to a patient who couldn't afford his medicine. Ethan listened quietly. There was something about her kindness, her selflessness, that humbled him. He had met women in high society circles, women who wore diamonds and talked of luxury, but none had a heart like hers. That night, he offered to drive her home. She tried to refuse at first, embarrassed. "You don't have to. I want to," he said simply. "It's late, and you've done enough saving people for one day." As his truck rumbled through the snowy roads, they talked about everything: their childhoods, their dreams, and the lives they wanted to build. For Ethan, wealth had always been a lonely road. For Lila, life had been about giving more than she ever received. Somehow, their worlds, though miles apart, felt destined to meet. When they reached her apartment, he didn't just drop her off. He made sure the heater worked, checked the locks, and even fixed a broken window that had been letting in the cold. "Thank you," she whispered. He smiled. "Just returning a little of what you give every day." From that night on, they kept crossing paths. Ethan would stop by the hospital sometimes, bringing coffee or lunch for the night shift nurses. Lila would pretend she didn't notice how his face lit up when he saw her. Slowly, quietly, something real began to bloom. But love, as it often does, came with its challenges. When the world found out that the millionaire rancher was dating a nurse from the city, whispers spread like wildfire. The media called her a gold digger. Some of Ethan's business partners warned him that she was beneath his status. Even Lila's coworkers doubted that someone like him could truly love someone like her. One evening, after a particularly harsh article surfaced, Lila confronted Ethan. "Maybe this was a mistake," she said, tears brimming. "You have a whole world out there, Ethan. You don't need me dragging you down." He took her hand, his voice steady. "Lila, I've had everything: money, fame, success, but none of it ever made me feel alive. You did. I don't care what the world says. You're not dragging me down, you're giving me something worth standing up for." Still, the pressure was heavy. Ethan's family, especially his father, an old-school ranch tycoon, disapproved. He believed a man of their legacy shouldn't marry a woman of the working class. But Ethan was stubborn. He took Lila to his ranch, showed her the land, the horses, the open skies. "This is my world," he said, "and I want you in it." When his father confronted him, demanding he end things, Ethan stood firm. "You always taught me that a man's worth is in his heart, not his wallet. I'm just finally living that truth." That stand cost him, a major deal collapsed, and the press continued to hound them. But Ethan didn't waver. Lila, too, faced her own tests. She lost her job when the hospital board deemed her too involved in public attention. But instead of breaking her, it gave her new purpose. With Ethan's encouragement, she opened a small clinic on the ranch, a free medical center for farm workers and their families. It became a beacon of hope. And slowly, public opinion shifted. Years passed, and their love only grew stronger. They married under the open sky, surrounded by ranch hands, nurses, and townsfolk who had once doubted them. Ethan's father, moved by their resilience, finally came forward to bless the union. Together, they turned the Walker Ranch into more than just a business. It became a place of healing and community. Reporters would later call their story, the love that melted the coldest winter. And when asked how it all began, Ethan would smile and say, with a freezing nurse at a lonely train station, and the warmest heart I'd ever met. Their love story became a legend, not because of fame or wealth, but because it reminded the world that true love doesn't care about status, it recognizes souls, not bank accounts. And as the snow fell again years later, Lila and Ethan would sit on that same bench at the train station, now restored in their honor, holding hands and remembering the night fate brought them together. Because sometimes, history isn't written in palaces or boardrooms. It's written in